This is the Comedy Kiosk, podcast by Mondae and Munoz. Please welcome Mondae and Munoz.
Hello and welcome to the Comedy Kiosk, our podcast about comedy news. We will talk about some hot topics, we will ask each other some questions, and in general we will try to share some opinions based on comedy. My name is Igor Mondae.
And I'm David Munoz.
And today's topic is comedy in 2020. So, what do you think about 2020 as a year for comedy?
It sucks. I mean, not the material that's coming out, but for performing, it sucked. Like, it was a tough little road moment. It was kind of a slap in the face.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest problem was no one expected something like this to happen, and it flipped the whole genre. It changed how stand-up basically is. I think fundamentally changed some concepts of stand-up that have been around for, 50, 60 years. Maybe, and we all had to learn how to deal with it. And not only stand-up, but different other comedy formats like TV, comedy, and so on.
Yeah, you could see especially with the talk shows and the late night stuff and things like that, like having to figure out what they were going to do and how they were going to have guests and all the rest. I mean, Zoom pretty much became the go-to, or any such sort of video streaming service.
I think it was all started by Zoom, probably. They intentionally ate a bet. I'm pretty sure that's how it all started, because they were like, we have this technology that people are just using for boring office meetings.
Yeah.
But what if we sell it to like Jimmy Fallon? What if it's now the official channel for Jimmy Fallon to do this show?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they all started it, obviously. So let's start that conspiracy theory. Why not? It's less stupid than a lot of the other ones going around these days. And and we all had to like adapt. Like even small clubs, like the one that we're part of, we had to. I think everyone quickly jumped to online shows and presenting like nights and things and trying to sell tickets or doing it for free and all the rest. So
yeah, many people around the world, many organizations and comedy clubs adapted quickly to basically switch from offline to online. I was surprised how quickly, actually. I think we started first week of April, and some other organizers already did it like mid-March.
Yeah, I think that shows the addiction level of comedians. Like, we cannot go more than a couple of weeks without being in front of people and making idiots of ourselves.
But I think it also shows like courage and dedication, passion, creativity.
All right, you have the plus words. I call it idiots, narcissists, and morons who just can't keep away from other people in some way, shape, or form.
The way the comedy industry like persevered, I think it's amazing, because over time we all understood how to do things and that this is a new reality we have to deal with and so on. But very early on, after like clubs started being closed and the lockdown started being implemented in different countries, people just decided like, but I still want to do this. I want to make people laugh. I want to brighten up someone's day. Comedy is still important. Kind of social interaction and normal social behavior, human behavior like laughter is still important. I can't do it on a stage. I can't do it in a club. What can I do? And I think Zoom wasn't even the first option, because it only became kind of popular as a platform a few weeks in. So I know that some people were doing it on like Facebook Live, Instagram Live, whatever platform, whatever channel was available. Comedians decided like, let's go on there and keep telling jokes.
And I think also the audience did want it. Like, they wanted something to distract them from the fact that they were stuck in their apartments or houses or whatever, and they could watch something and pretend it was a night out. Although I think you could see things change like over time. Like in the beginning, people would be a little bit more dressed up in front of the camera, and they would like sit there. And same with the comedians. Like, we would put like the backdrop, we'd hang curtains, like black curtains. I know I was doing that. I even had like the sign for our club up behind me and trying to make it look like a stage. And by the end, people were like listening in bed. Comedians were performing laying down on the couch, and it devolved over. You can see over a span of like a month or two, everything just devolving into the I'm just gonna do it in my pajamas.
I think it was actually a good image of society in general, because first like few weeks or even maybe few months we just pretended nothing changed, and we just took our
denial. First stage, denial.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we took our habits, we took our schedule, we took our activities and so on, and we just started doing it online. And people were dressing up for shows, and we all put up this nice curtains and stood up and had like a handheld microphone. And I've done, and I know that you have as well, several shows around the world organized by people in different countries, different parts of the world. And I remember one open mic was in California, if I'm not mistaken. It was kind of 5 a.m. here, and I woke up to do it because I was so hyped to do comedy in a different country, which was impossible. I mean, it was possible if I traveled to that country and so on.
It was cheaper.
Yeah,
it was cheaper. That's why it appealed to us. We're like, we don't have to pay for an airfare ticket. Yes, I'll do it.
Of course, it's experience that you couldn't get just a month or I don't know, a year before this happened. So
absolutely.
But people like even built kind of a small stage in their garage or something like this, just a performance area. People really dedicated to this idea.
Hang on, I've got one question for you. So you said that you performed for this guy. Now, was this towards the beginning of the quarantine or at the end?
Maybe in the first month.
Okay, because that shows the difference of experience to mine, because by the time I performed, which I did it later than you, when I performed for a club, one of the clubs in, I think it was Miami or something like that, one of the guys performing, he was doing it in his garage, like you said, but there was no stage. Instead, there was a pile of dirty laundry in the background on a discarded sofa in the garage that was near the washing machine, and you could tell that pretty much when he finished his act, he was going to go, and now I'm going to put the load into the washing machine and start doing that.
I think it also depends on the person and because some like semi-professional and professional comedians that were doing it, they of course took it a bit more seriously. So they were kind of, trying to just project some kind of image or some kind of, professionalism. Yeah. And then I've done an open mic in Australia. Oh. And there was a guy who he has like, I think 9 children. Whoa. So he was just streaming from his phone, and he would have one of his children hold the phone, and you could see all
shaky hands.
Yeah, you could see all the other kids as well, just sitting there, and he would just stand up from his couch, stand in the middle of his living room, and just speak.
Oh, please tell me the guy had like swearing and stuff in his like diatribe, in his bit.
I honestly don't remember because
that would be great in front of the kids, like just yelling. I'll be like, so I was on the fucking beach, mate, and I was the bloody pricks, and all of a sudden there's the wife looking at him going, "It's for the bit, honey. It's for the bit."
I think he had some stuff about like dating and sex and things like that.
So I was mounting my wife. Yes, Jimmy, that's your mother. Right, shut up.
He has 9 kids. They know.
They figured out by now. He does something with mummy that makes a lot of us.
It's no secret to anyone. But yeah, I mean, that was because he was kind of barefoot. He was, I think he was topless because it was basically summer.
Australian. You said he was Australian.
Whatever,
we got it.
February, March, whatever. It was like hot there. Yeah, and then gradually over time, you could see both comics and audience like degrading into this kind of blobs of people in pajamas drinking in their beds, but
eating dinner in front of the camera. So disrespectful.
Yeah, definitely, especially when a comic does that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Me neither. Yeah, and that's the thing, and I think that's maybe the fundamental difference between live shows and these online shows that are still going on in different countries and with different organizers because of the lockdown and so on. Luckily, here in Moscow, we are able to do live shows, not in front of full capacity rooms and so on, but we have some restrictions on different things, but we can still do live shows, which is...
What is that restriction, 30?
Restrictions depend on the venue and on but it has to be the temperature has to be measured, distancing between tables, capacity of the room and so on. Different cities even have different regulations and so on, but still it's possible to do real live comedy, unlike in many cities. And the thing I wanted to say is that basically with the audience, it was also like we have people, I don't know, just kind of forgetting about it, not showing up and so on. When in the real world, when you go to a comedy show, it's a night out.
Oh, right? Yeah.
You would have to dress up. You would have to make plans, invite people, and then
you're committed. You commit to that. You're like, I'm getting dressed. I'm buying a ticket. Or I'm taking spending money with me, and I'm going to show up, and I'm expecting comedy. And especially like the venue that we have, it's like, okay, it's a comedy place. It's not like a mixed bar where they just do stand-up. It's a proper place. I'm going there. I'm committing to it. I want to laugh. I want to have a good time, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference in approach, because now people, they're kind of, okay, I can join in 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, I can take a nap and wake up whenever I want. I can mute it if it's not interesting for me or whatever. So I think...
Want to go for a cigarette?
Yeah, exactly. So people just like stand up and leave during the... I remember one of the shows we did online, there was a group of people. For the listeners who don't know, we are based in Moscow in Russia, and there was a group of people, expats, I believe British, if I'm not mistaken, that live in a different Russian city, but they found us doing online shows and they joined several times. It was, I think, husband and a wife that run some kind of farm there.
Oh, was that the ones who were playing ping pong or pool in the background?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I remember that. And it was like, sometimes you're like, are you guys paying attention? We were the background noise. I felt like we were the background radio. Like we were just the white noise in the background. And occasionally you'd see one, like he had his pool cue or something, like he'd be like focused on the table, and then you see the head turn and he would look at the camera like, oh, that's an interesting bit. And just listen quietly, and then you see the head turn away and you're like, I'm losing him.
Yeah, I mean, it was ping pong they were playing. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I mean, like great guys. They joined like several times and we had some chats and so on. But I mean, it was then kind of, as I remember, end of April maybe or whatever, like the weather was getting nicer here. People wanted to spend time outdoors, but they couldn't because we had these restrictions on movement and so on. So they were just in their garage playing ping pong, but also had some live entertainment in the background, which is also not a bad option. Why not? Again, like get some laughs, like listen to some comedy. Why not? But I'm saying, like, it was, people weren't that dedicated, audience or comics, to as you would be if you actually get prepared to come to a club to do your set to as a comic or as the audience. And now I see it in many shows. Actually, I follow a lot of like British TV shows that are recorded in front of Zoom audience, so they get like 20, 50, 100 people to join in with Zoom that then act as audience. So they have like a big screen on which they can see all these people, and people are laughing in real time with the shows. But also you can see that people are kind of basically naked, waist down, or they're
scratching themselves.
Yeah, because obviously, they're not. They don't show they don't show the audience unless there is some question to the audience, something like this.
Right.
But you can see that it's still people in their homes, and they kind of try to put on this image of themselves like, I prepared for this, I'm here as an audience member, it's a recording of a BBC show or whatever, but they're still in their homes.
And one thing I always found very funny was like I said before, like people took care at the beginning, they were very self-aware, but later on people really didn't care, and they didn't care what you saw of their house or things like that, like the dirty laundry, like I mentioned before. But people just like, it was just very casual. It was just like, I'm just filling in some time. So, okay, I have a question for you though about this online show. Did you notice, because I noticed that for me that different clubs had different rules for doing online shows. Did you notice this?
What do you mean by rules? Like the way of applying or the way of performing or what exactly?
Performing and watching. Like, for example, I noticed like we started with, what was it? Microphones off, cameras on, and then we went with everything on, right?
Yeah, because we started with a platform that was actually much better for comedy, I think, than Zoom is. Because on Zoom, if two people start speaking or just making any noise at the same time, it kind of cuts off the new noise cuts off the previous noise. So if someone's, coffee machine or something was working in the background, so a comedian is doing his bit and then the audience member accidentally touches his mic, then the comedian gets cut off because it overlaps. But we were using a different platform on which basically the sound would always come from the person that is pinned as a speaker, as far as I remember. But because of this, and there was a possibility for reactions, like you could react with emojis, like smiling one, clapping one, and so on, which Zoom now has, but then it didn't have. It only had like a raising hand option because it was supposed to be for like corporate meetings and even classes or whatever.
Right. So it was basically Heil comedian.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's how you show support. Right?
Yeah.
Highlighting the comedian.
yeah, exactly.
So while we're using this platform, and because we actually started with paid shows, not open mics, we did like 2 times a week, Wednesday and Friday, if I'm not mistaken, showcases with people from around the world. We had a chance to invite some of our really good friends, comedians that we met on some tours or festivals and so on, to join and to perform with us. Basically, they're kind of 15 minutes, 20 minutes of material, and we charged some money for it. Not a lot, of course, because it was like an online show, but still, because we basically had to somehow survive this period as well and have some income as well. But then when we started doing open mics, we moved to Zoom. And it was also good with the sound on and with people actually laughing and clapping and joining in with some. I remember some open mics turned into like roasts. Where comics would just start every set with just pointing out, "Oh, you look like your house looks like this." Oh,
what was the Canadian guy? The Canadian guy, I roasted him by saying that he looked like a trailer trash Tintin. He was good because that was the whole point. Because he started roasting people, so then everyone roasted him back, and then the audience got involved. And they were just like, "All right, open season." He was like, shit, shouldn't have started this. That was great though. He was great.
Yeah, I think many people they found this. I also think it was like a unique experience of uniting people from all around the world. And I think comedians as people, like not comedians that do it for, just to get some attention or to I don't know, like whatever, but people who are comedians, like as a character trait, you're a comedian, and maybe as a like profession or life calling or something like this. I think that we are more or less all the same. Like we will talk about the same things.
Narcissistic, desperate, wanting attention?
No. I mean, we are support of humanity. We make people laugh, entertain them in the times of crisis, help people.
And helping them analyze a situation from a different perspective in order to coalesce these ideas into a kind of a vapor that we can then inhale, that people can inhale into themselves.
We are the fundamental foundation of humanity.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with that. Sure.
I mean, to be honest, comedy and different kinds of comedians, clowns, whatever, existed in human society for like, thousands and thousands of years. Different clowns, jesters, whatever. Yeah, historically and culturally and so on. Comedians have a role in a society, and I think a lot of us have a similar kind of mindset and so on, and that's why meeting people from around the world that share this mindset, because when you go to a comedy club anywhere else, I've done like several European tours, I haven't been outside of the European continent, and now it was a chance for me to meet people basically from, I don't know, Canada, America, Mexico, India, where else, like Malaysia, whatever, Africa. We had people from all around the world, and to see that they're basically the same as you, like you would just, we all share the same, of course, like culturally we're different, or racially we're different, or I don't know, religion, language, whatever, but not as a person, but as a comedian, we're kind of the same. You jump on an opportunity to do a joke, you appreciate the same punchline, you would roast each other if given an opportunity, all in good spirit, and so on. And I think it was like a really, really unique and valuable experience to network and to meet people from all around the world that are basically the same as you.
Okay. Keeping that in mind now, Igor, how many of those people that you've met have you actually kept in contact with?
Well, I don't think it's about making, friends for life. No, but really, it's about just understanding that getting, not even about specific people, but about understanding that let's say you're not alone in this. You're not
a freak, is what you're saying. Basically, we realized, hey, we're not complete freaks. There are a lot of us, and if we are freaks, there are many of us. So it's totally fine. Well, yeah, keep doing this.
It's like in any kind of, hobby or any kind of lifestyle or whatever. Because I really think that finding like a support group, a community of people that do the same thing, it's important, because when we're doing English comedy in Moscow, this is a very specific and unique thing, because doing English comedy in an English-speaking country is one thing, or in kind of a tourist popular hub like Berlin or Amsterdam or something, but we do it in Moscow. It's a very particular kind of evening hobby or job or whatever to have, and that's why to see that many people from many countries around the world have the same experience, have the same challenges, have the same sense of humor, have the same values, the same interests, and they will jump on the same punchline with the same words and so on, on the same setup, with the same punchline. I think it's amazing, and it was a very unique opportunity to realize this and to learn all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, for me, absolutely, because I had this thing of like, performing only in one place, really, in Moscow, the idea of like, is my stuff usable in other countries, in other cultures? Can it work? And then to actually be able to try that out and realize, hey, actually, yeah, it does work. Like, I could catch a flight when the borders open, of course, to America or to Israel or to England, and I could do this and they will laugh. Like, that's always been like the kind of fear when you do like the comedy in a place that's non-English speaking, and you just don't know if it will translate, because you're kind of like, am I getting to, in a way, in a bubble where you're performing to non-English speaking audience, and whether they understand you. So am I kind of compromising too much in that regard? So yeah, I thought it was a great experience.
Yeah, I think it's a very valuable experience because it did prove a lot of like ideas and concepts, like, can my set work abroad? How will, I don't know, native English speakers or non-native English speakers react to this? People from different cultures, from different like countries and so on, see all these jokes. And but I think it also depends on the actual show. I didn't do a lot. I did maybe 5 or 6 shows with different organizations, and some were very, very welcoming. And I felt like I felt the best and like the biggest achievement was when you get the comedians laughing, because on some of the shows they were really like experienced professional comedians who are doing comedy for 20-30 years every night, and then you get them laughing and you're like, well, what we do here, it's, you never know, are people laughing at you because you're really funny, or they're laughing at you because you're like a novelty act. Oh my God, this guy speaks English, or oh my God, like this guy's a foreigner or whatever. But when you get native speaking professional comedians laughing at your joke, you're like, oh, this is cool. But I've done some shows, maybe only 2, where it was a very like closed circuit of people. Like they were, let's say, on the Zoom meeting, there were 12 people, 9 comics and 2 friends of theirs and me. Yeah. And they were just doing, it was kind of like a workshop for them. So they were doing some inside jokes. They were doing some callbacks to stuff that happened a week ago and things like this. And then I came in with my like 5-minute set, and they were all just kind of silent, writing their own notes, like not even listening. And I finished my set. I was like, okay, guys, that's it. That's all I had. Thank you. And they were like, okay, that was this guy. Next, our resident comedian and famous...
So basically, if you're not part of the clique, the clique group, sorry, we're not going to listen to you. We don't care, because, you're not coming back next week anyway. So
exactly.
Thank you for filling in 5 minutes of space.
Yeah, but some of them were really welcoming, really well ran and organized. And I've seen some kind of same people from different countries on different shows.
Yeah, that was always cool.
As well. So I do believe that once we have a chance to, I don't know, travel to the UK or Germany or Israel or whatever, that we can actually meet. As you asked, like, am I in touch with any of them? I'm not. But if I will be going to those countries, I do know a person that is already a part of a comedy scene there, and I will definitely hit them up. And if they come to Moscow, I invite them to hit us up and to ask for a spot and to like book a show with us and so on. So I think it was a great opportunity for all of this to happen. So it was a hard year. I think many challenges, many things changed, and we saw comedy like we've never imagined before.
That's true.
But I'm very impressed with the comedy community and how we dealt with all of this and the solutions we found. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. And I don't know how things are going to go nowadays, because we have vaccines, apparently. We have the Moderna, we have the Pfizer, and technically Sputnik 5. So...
Is it called Sputnik 5?
Something like that, yeah.
Is it not Sputnik 19?
No, I don't know. But the point is, like, these vaccines are coming out, but they're still saying we have to be careful, right? All these shows, how they're happening. So at this point, like, when I was looking up like a while back when we were researching this, like, how they're dealing with it, like, I went to a place called everfest.com, which has all these live shows and how to buy tickets and stuff. And it was 3 pages of cancelled shows, stuff like that. So obviously a lot of stuff was being postponed. Edinburgh Fringe cancelled off, sorry, next year, that sort of thing. And hopefully now that we have this sort of vaccines coming out, and if people take them and we get the numbers down, all this will come back. Now, the question is, if you'd asked me about a month ago, whether these online shows would continue, I'd say, oh yeah, possibly these online shows would continue. But now that the vaccine's coming in, and the way people are fickle and they're so desperate to return to normalcy, I would say that they're pretty much all going to die out. I don't know, what do you reckon?
I don't know. We had some even requests to kind of keep recording and streaming our shows that we're now doing at the club online and so on. But I think there might be some audience for this, and there might be some niche for this as well. But if things go back to normal, shows will go back to normal, because you can't really replace the atmosphere and the energy and the attention and commitment of both comics and the audience when you are in a room doing stuff, because stand-up is a live medium. Sort of art. And I think even though this is live as well, like streaming on Zoom and so on, it's not pre-recorded or something, it really doesn't work the same. But I'm very glad to see that in many countries, in many cities, there were still solutions to this, even during the pandemic and lockdown, when it was like going on, because people have done shows like outdoors, on rooftops, on terraces, in parks. In New York, I know that was a big thing, doing shows in parks where people would just kind of sit on their little blanket 2 meters apart from anyone else, and there was a comic just shouting stuff from like under a tree.
Now the question is, was he shouting to people under the tree, or was he shouting at the lawnmower guy to shut the fuck up because he's trying to do his comedy bit?
Yeah, and I saw some kind of people on YouTube talking about this comics and about the experience and so on. I think really it's some kind of thing that you could never even imagine a year ago. Like, I'll be doing a show. We did a few outdoor shows here in Moscow, but it was like an organized show. There was an outdoor theater that plays like movies every summer, and then instead of a movie, there was a show. But there were like seating, there was sound system and so on. But this was just people shouting at people in a park. So it's really like flipped the whole format.
So it was typical New York. Just walking through a park in New York, someone's basically yelling smart-ass remarks, and the other people are responding, and at the end you go, oh wait, this is actually a comedy show. Not just New Yorkers being themselves. What did I step into? Am I interrupting? Am I a heckler now? I just wanted to take a walk through the park. And now I'm in the middle of a comedy show, and some guy's making fun of me. So I really think that some organizers, some comics found like some temporary or permanent solutions. I know some comedy clubs were completely repurposed as kind of streaming theaters, venues, whatever, where they put kind of 2-3 cameras from different angles and a big screen where the comic could see the audience on Zoom or whatever, and they completely moved to online, to virtual shows. But I still believe that once the numbers are down and hopefully we go back to normal, that this will also change again and we will do normal shows as we did before. Yeah. All right. Okay, so shall we move on to a quiz?
Let's do it.
Okay, so you can start if you want. You can ask me a question. We'll see how we go.
Well, let's see how good is your knowledge of the events that happened in 2020. I tried
pretty bad.
I tried to keep it as recent as possible. So I'm not going to ask you something that happened in February. I'm going to ask you about things that happened in the recent few weeks, but they are still connected to comedy and mostly to this kind of new world that comedy and stand-up comedy has to deal with. So first question, which famous comic recently gave an interview and said that while all these things proved the same things we are now discussing, that comedians will persevere and find a way and so on, that once all of this is over, the comedy scene, the stand-up scene will be stronger than ever, because we will take all these experiences and have things to talk about and have new ways of doing stuff and material and so on.
So an optimistic comic, that's a rare breed. Can I ask questions like, are they American?
You can ask some questions, yeah.
Okay. Are they American?
They are. I mean, it's not they, it's a person, but that person is. Yeah.
Well, I'm just using that, they, because I'm
the pronoun, let's not...
It's because I don't want to, say he or she, because I don't know. Okay, so they are American. That explains it.
And even if you did know, it would be in this current climate, very risky to assume a gender of a person.
Yeah.
So let's just call them they. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it said this. Okay. So now, comedian, optimistic.
I'll give you a few more hints. It was a comedian that has done many kind of TV shows and appearances. Has, I think, few Netflix specials on as well. And
wow, that sounds almost like every famous American comedian.
But during the pandemic, this comic has done the online shows, like online paid shows and whatever. But they said that while it was fun and it was a way of doing it, there was no other way of doing it. It would be great when we will be able to do it in person, live, in a room with an audience, and that then the stand-up is going to just be on a different level than it was before all of this.
Yeah, see, that's just it. Out of the really big names, I don't know many that actually still performed live on camera. I mean, they released Netflix specials and stuff like that, like, you know, Chappelle did and others did. But I mean, yeah, those that actually still performed online, Christopher Titus is one I can think of who did that sort of stuff, I believe. I don't know. Have I ever met this comedian?
In person?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, so that's not Jim Gaffigan. All right, fair enough.
I don't know your whole life story. I don't know what kind of things you've been up to.
Yeah. Okay, so that's not that. Crap. I have no idea. Okay, I'm going to go with Kevin Hart.
No, it's but Kevin Hart did an interesting special. I don't know, did you see it in his home? In his living room?
Yeah, I heard of. That's why he was the only one that stuck into my head, because I heard he'd done something.
Yeah. No, it's Whitney Cummings.
Damn it! And I follow her on fucking Twitter.
There you go.
Shit.
If only you followed more closely.
Yeah. Well, okay, fair enough. Yeah, Whitney Cummings. Yeah, fair enough.
All right, you go.
Okay. All right. So this is a very, very simple one then. Who is the highest grossing comedian at the moment?
Highest grossing
comedian, like in money wise, who's making the most money?
No, I know what highest grossing means. Don't patronize me. But I mean, it all the sources of revenue and income.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah, also including specials and all the rest. So who's basically the most successful comedian?
But also including kind of, I guess, royalties or whatever you call it for like old stuff. Because I'm tempted to say Seinfeld.
No, he's number 2.
Oh, well, that's why I was tempted, because it was so close. In the world.
I would assume so.
Or like in the States or something.
Well, okay, let's go with States to be safe. All three are American.
Well, then I would say Kevin Hart.
Yes. Any idea how much?
A lot. Too much.
Apparently 59 million.
Not to basically disrespect Kevin and his hard work, but in any case, I believe it's too much.
Right. And number 3, for bonus point, you have met the man.
Jim Gaffigan?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Good old Jim. Good for him.
I believe that, yeah. Also very hardworking and genuinely like self-made, hilarious comics. So makes sense. I mean, all of them. All right. So my question is, which famous comedian has recently published a book that is basically a collection of his jokes from the early days when he started till now? So it's like basically, as far as I understand, it's not actual like jokes word by word, but it's little kind of notes, little
I don't know, Gary Goldman?
No.
Okay.
Just think like which comic would have decades of material and had such like
Steve Martin would be one guy like that. Like Steve Martin could he could do volumes. Jerry Seinfeld could do it as well.
Is the answer you're going to
let's go with Jerry Seinfeld.
And you're right, it is Jerry Seinfeld. He's just published a book with the collection of his jokes from when he started doing comedy, I guess at 21.
Yeah.
And then through his like sitcom Seinfeld years, all like up to now. So basically kind of short jokes, some notes, some like ideas and so on put together in a book.
Okay. Talking about old comedians who've been around for a long time and now no longer with us, unfortunately. What year did Robin Williams have his first TV debut?
TV debut? Was it like a guest appearance at one of the late shows, talk shows?
No, it was
like
apparently it was some sort of a revival of some show called Laugh-In. So he was asked to, do comedy there. So
to be honest,
TV debut.
I don't really know much about his kind of career prior to his blockbuster appearances, like when he did Peter Pan and Jumanji and whatever, the big comedy movies. So I would say that was mid-90s, and he was already in his 40s, as I remember. So I would assume that he's done some guest appearances, maybe as a warm-up act or something like this for some shows back in... Do I need to give you an exact year or a decade? Or
exact year would be great. It would be great.
1976.
Oh, so close. 77.
There we go.
TV debut, 77. I believe he got his first role then in 78 with Mork and Mindy. So, yeah. There you go.
I knew that. I channeled my inner Williams.
You just counted backwards from 40. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really good at guessing random stuff.
Yeah.
All right. And the final question for you. Which famous Hollywood actor recently, in an interview, said that he kind of secretly wants to do stand-up because he believes that acting, just reciting lines he learned is one thing, but he could put his acting skill, I mean, kind of stage presence or whatever, into stand-up. And stand-up is great because you can say things without filter, and it's like a live immediate response and so on. So he said that he would be tempted to try stand-up, and if there was no pandemic happening, that he would probably already do it this year. He will try himself at stand-up.
So now you're saying he's a Hollywood star.
He's a Hollywood star.
Big.
Very big.
Very big. And is he American?
He is American.
Okay, he's American. Now, I would assume to do that, I'm going to guess that he's actually a little bit older. Like, he's not young. This is just me spitballing here. He's not young, probably been acting for a while. I'm going to guess he's done comedic films, but kind of not felt like he's a real comedian, maybe. It's one of those sort of like feelings like, I want to get the real laugh. I want to know that I earned it sort of feelings. So
I can tell you he's done some comedic roles, but I wouldn't call him a comedic actor.
Yeah.
Because actually many actors that play in comedies come from stand-up and so on.
Yeah.
So that's where they begin.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, Adam Sandler or Seth Rogen or Eddie Murphy or...
Well, see, this is what I was guessing. Someone who didn't come from the stand-up comedy, but does comedy films. So he sees his co-stars and, obviously hears them telling stories about, getting those genuine laughs. And it's sort of like, yeah, I'm just faking it. Like, I'm telling the jokes that are written on a script from someone else. I want to be able to do it myself. Like, I want to be able to get that honest reaction, know that I made it from scratch, sort of thing. Oh, God. Yeah. Damn, this is tough. Because, this is the problem. Every time I start thinking of something, I'm like, oh, Jason Sudeikis? I'm like, no, but he's done SNL, so he knows that real feeling. You
wouldn't think of this person, I can reveal it's a guy. You wouldn't think of this guy as a comedian, actually. I wouldn't, because all this like SNL people and so on, you would think of them, even if they're not stand-up per se, they did sketches or writing or and I was very surprised to find that he wants to try doing stand-up.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. Ice-T?
It's very random.
Because seriously, that guy does everything. He's been a rapper. He was in Body Count, which is a heavy metal band, and he's been doing that for ages. And now he's an actor. It wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden he went. And actually, if you read his tweets, he can be a funny fucker.
I love how I said like he's a very, very big Hollywood actor, and you went with Ice-T.
Oh,
again,
right,
no disrespect to Ice-T, I mean, this is a guy that's been in like, let's say, 4 or 5 major blockbusters.
George Clooney.
No. Okay,
Brad Pitt.
No, well, now you're just naming people, and we can go through a list.
No, I'm going to go with Brad Pitt.
No, it's not Brad Pitt.
Okay, fair enough.
It is Matthew McConaughey.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, he revealed it recently in an interview with Russell Howard that he would be very interested in trying it, and that he would try it already this year, if not for the current situation, and that he really kind of admires the format and the way that you can just say what you think without it being pre-scripted and like filtered and edited and whatever. So yeah.
And completely pointless side note, one of the things I learned when performing in front of the camera, like for Zoom and things like that for the shows, actually came from Matthew McConaughey during an interview when he said, make sure you have a light set low facing towards you, have a lamp, but you set it low so it shines upwards from like your feet or from something like that, because then it shines it up upwards and it makes you look better on camera.
Useful advice.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any more questions for me, or that's it?
Nope. Well, I got one more if I want. Okay. Patton Oswalt, how many specials has he done?
11.
No.
That's just like a number that's
6.
Well, that's almost 11.
Yeah. Half.
I mean,
almost half.
Any number I could have said would be good enough, I guess, because if I don't know, then any guess is a good guess.
I was about to give you a multiple choice option, but you just jumped in with 11.
I don't know. When you said how many, I saw 11 in front of my eyes. It's like just flashed 11.
And you saw wrong. Okay.
Because 6 sounds like a reasonable number, so I don't know why would you ask that question. I thought it's kind of, he has way more than we think he does, but then he just has a normal amount of specials. Yeah. So, okay. Thanks for this insightful question. And let's finish up with some recommendations. So during this whole year, what was maybe the funniest thing you've watched or found, or some kind of interesting maybe source of laughter and comedy, or just a specific show or whatever? What can you recommend?
Oh, if we're going with that criteria, honestly, the thing that's been kind of making me get through this year has been a trio of Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, and Trevor Noah. Considering what's been going on with the world, what's been going on with America, which, I know it's another country, but it does influence, like you kind of always got an eye on it. It was a good way to digest news and make fun of really messed up situations and how people are dealing with things. So, yeah, I would say those 3. If it came to a comedy special, for me, it was Hannah Gadsby's Douglas. Really enjoyed it because if anyone has seen Nanette, that was the one where she kind of bared her soul and things like that. And she got a bit of criticism saying that it wasn't a proper comedy special. It was pretty much her fed up and just kind of ripping the script and just going, stuff it, I'm not going to play your game anymore. And what I liked about Douglas was because she got fame for doing that with Nanette, with Douglas, it was almost like, okay, I've got this fame. I kind of have the responsibility, or I have the motivation to show that I deserve it. And so I think that she really kind of laid everything down, her comedic talents, and the way that she can write a comedy special. I love the callbacks. I love the fact that in the beginning, she completely reveals what the whole script is going to pretty much be, and then goes with it and still manages to surprise you, which basically just shows that, yes, she deserves it. She's been in this game for so long, and that's why I liked it. All
right. Fair enough. I will definitely check it out because I couldn't get into Nanette, and we had this conversation already. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't, it just wasn't my cup of tea, I guess. Yeah. But maybe I will be able to get into this one. What I've discovered this year, and I know him, he's been around, I've seen some clips of his guest appearances or different like late night shows and so on, but I found his YouTube channel when a recommendation popped up on my YouTube, and it was Mark Norman's special. It was the first special he recorded, and I guess he pitched it to several like networks and streaming platforms and stuff. They all said no, and he just basically released it on his channel, got 4.5 million views in the meantime. And it is more like a compilation show, because I see that most of those jokes he's done on different shows and it's different like kind of tight 15, tight 20 sets, but they still work. It's still really good. It's still really funny. And through this special, I actually found his channel and I started following a little bit more of his kind of just insight into comedy. And he's been doing some very interesting stuff this year, like the shows in the park that we talked about. He's been doing some kind of reports on his like back-to-back shows. So why can you do like the same joke 2 nights in a row and one day it will kill, the other day it will bomb, and things like this. So as a comedian, it's a very interesting and I would say important insight into a life and a career, let's say, of a professional touring comedian that is not so big but still works on a professional level. And I think the way he kind of delivers these insights and so on, his opinion, it's very humble, it's very like down to earth, like comic to comic
Yeah.
style. So I really started following his little journey through the pandemic and so on. And I think especially something that everyone should have a look at, because it's even as a compilation show, it's pretty strong. It's pretty funny. It gets you laughing every like 30 seconds or something.
Yeah.
So it's really something that basically made my lockdown.
Made my lockdown. Lovely phrasing. Where's he from?
He's from the States, from New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Well, I think the listeners have had enough of us by now.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll make another episode, and then if you like this, you can log back in and listen to the next one then. We'll talk about different topics, give different advice and recommendations and things, and hopefully come up with better, newer questions.
That's true. So thank you so much for joining in and for listening. I've been Igor Mondae.
And I'm David Munoz,
Still David Munoz. I've been Igor Mondae. I have to change my name now before the next podcast, before the next episode. And yes, this was Comedy Kiosk. Join us next time. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Goodbye.